Oh yeah, back to it. These fucking crackers fucking like all broken and shit, so then I said fuck it. Throw them in here and I'm having tuna with like fucking a fork. You feel me? Fuck it, you gotta make it happen. You gotta get that protein, man. This was full. And I just had like steak and shit. What am I looking for? I'm missing something. So I am. I mean, let me find a video to play. Give me a second. Don't judge me, cuz. Fuck. Let's see. Not sure what today's. Let's look at this shit right here. How long is that? 19 minutes? Okay, so. I gotta go to my page to screen share, right? Yeah. So fuck it, I've been trying to like learn how to like edit videos and shit. So.
10 CapCut editing hacks you may not have known existed. I'll be sure to note which features are free versus paid, but a majority of these edits today are using free features, including some of my personal favorites like placing text behind you, the Spotify scroll hack, and of course, the typing hack. As always, timestamps are below. Use them if you need them. Let's jump into it. Hack number 1, remove the ugly automated CapCut outro. You know how when you start a new project in CapCut, at the very end, you get this automatic, beautiful CapCut outro, and then sometimes you forget about it, and then you export it with the video on. Yeah, there's a way to turn that off. So let's do that together. In your CapCut app, you're gonna go to the Me tab on the bottom, and then top right, press the tool icon. And under preferences, there's a option that says add default ending. You're gonna toggle that off. Then you're gonna press discard, and now that automated ending will not appear whenever you create a new project. Hack number 2 is removing the background of your videos. Knowing how to do this simple edit is going to open the floodgates of all other editing hacks that you could have access to, including the typing feature or typing hack, which we'll get to in a bit. If you want to see the best success with this when filming your video, make sure you have a simple background going on behind you. If it's a very busy background, you're out and about, it's going to be a lot harder to remove that background, or it could be harder to remove that background. So to keep it as easy as possible, simple background means simple background remover process. Simply all you're going to do after you have your clip imported into your CapCut project, you just select the clip and then scroll until you see background or remove background. And then this one could be either free or paid. So if you have CapCut Pro, you just press auto removal. It'll automatically identify your subject, remove the background for you. That's great. If you don't have the Pro version, you can do custom removal. With this tool, there's a free and paid option. So for paid options, obviously you could select
HoneyBook has handled all of my proposals, my contracts, and my payments so that I can focus on what I actually love doing and what truly matters most.
Auto removal, and it would remove the background for you. Really, really easy, but I actually don't have the Pro version. I don't know why that worked. Maybe I can't export it unless it works. And then another pro is under custom removal, quick brush. You just highlight the object that you want to keep, and then it'll apply the custom removal. So that's like the paid version. But if you don't have a version, that's okay. You could do the free version, and I will show you how to do that. With the free version, all you're going to do is select brush, and you're going to, yes, trace all of you. I do this typically in like 2 steps. So I first do like the middle chunk of me. I don't worry about getting too close to the edges. I just do the middle chunk. I don't have to be too clean with it. So we're going to fill in the blanks here. Then when it comes to like getting those fine lines, I'm going to bring the size of the brush down and then go a little bit slower on the edges. Now, if you want a little bit of a hack for technique, just do little bits at a time. Because if I try to do, let's say I did this whole side perfectly, pretend this is perfect, and I get all the way to the end and then I mess up, I would have to redo that whole thing. I have to press undo, redo the whole thing. So I just do little bits at a time, like this section, lift my finger, next section, lift my finger. And instead of dragging your finger on the screen like this, I just tap, hold, and then I tilt side to side instead of like drag. Also, I wasn't looking, so I don't know what I did there. That is how you could do the free version. Yes, it's a little bit more time consuming, but you still have access to the feature and it still works wonders. Just take a little bit of time to trace its edges and your background's removed. Once it's removed, your video will look like this. Now, in what scenario would this even be helpful? Let's jump to our next hack. Hack number 3 is placing the text behind you. This is the video that I created over on Instagram showing a visual example of how you can put text behind you in a reel. I originally saw this idea from Art of Influence Co. over on Instagram, so definitely go give them a follow. First things first, I want to add my text. So I'm just going to put this text behind you. For editing like the font or the style, just switch over to styles. You can choose what you want that to look like in CapCut. The fonts, you could choose the font. I usually keep the classic System or Anton. Anton is one of my brand fonts. So those are the two that I usually alternate between. And I want to place it right. You won't be able to see the U much, so I'll put the U here if it's behind me. That's kind of where I want my text to be. Now, what I'm going to do is select the clip that you want the front and behind happening. So we're going to select this clip. We're going to duplicate the clip. Then with the duplicated one over here, we're going to turn it into an overlay. Let's click and hold to drag this overlay on top of our original clip. Now they should be perfectly in line with each other. With the overlay, we are also going to remove the background. Custom removal. You do your removal process.
So I'm going to share screens with, I'm going to share something with, let me see, where is it? YouTube 5, is that it? Yeah, share. And then I'm going to click this because I trust both these guys and I want to see what's going on.
You've probably heard about Boxable's flagship product, the Casita.
The majority of us are amino acid deficient.
This is one of the lies I have ever heard in my entire life in the context of sport and exercise science. This is the kind of make-believe nonsense that pisses me off the most. Folks like Gary Brecka say some good shit, but then other shit they do needlessly complicates your life for a maybe marginal, usually zero net effect. Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength. I've been a longtime professor of exercise and sports science, a competitive bodybuilder and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappler, and apparently a wearer of a Broma Stay brand sweatshirt, which you can get on the internet if you go clicking on it. In any case, today we eye laser focus on a Mr. Gary Brecka, who is a famous person who says a lot of things about how the human body works and about what you can do to help your health and performance that I consider speculative, possibly wrong. Today, we are going to try to be respectful and nuanced, but occasionally, at least for comedic effect, and possibly for real, we're getting a little bit persnickety and just a teeny bit mean, but all for the best. Why are we getting a little bit mean? Because some folks, even though they're very well-meaning in some cases, or well-meaning in others, like Dr. Oz, who just exists to rip people off, they end up saying a lot of wrong stuff. Now, I say my fair share of wrong stuff, but I love it when people call me out on it, especially if their critiques are based in some kind of evidence and or logic. And so today, we're going to be doing a little bit of calling out of Mr. Gary Brecka to see if a lot of his claims stand up to the evidence. Now, he says a lot of really good stuff, and he's definitely one to look at, but he says a lot of stuff that just don't make no sense. Let's get into it and see what we can find. 3, 2, 1, Gary Brecka.
Every one of the professional athletes that I work with, all of what I would call the superhuman athletes that I work with.
I only ever work with people that have legitimate superpowers as well. If you can't lift, you know what I'm saying, a truck and throw it into the moon, you're not on my roster. That's just how I do. I have you with regular athletic abilities insulting my shit. Gary, massive respect for only taking the best.
I would be supplementing with a mineral salt in the morning, 10 ounces of water, first thing right out of bed. I would hydrate and mineralize the body.
Yeah. Your body controls mineral levels very well. Doing some mineral shit in the morning. By the way, most food has a load of minerals. And if you take a multivitamin, multi-mineral supplement sometime through the day, you solve this problem entirely. Having a mineral salt and putting it into water is just like extra shit you're doing to buffer up that morning routine to 10 fucking hours. Fucking nonsense.
I use one called Baja Gold sea salt.
I'm sure it's real cheap. If you guys need more salt, just sea salt won't do, because you need every single kind of electrolyte, potassium, you need chloride, you need sodium, and in the right amounts, they can be helpful, especially during and after workouts that are very long, very sweaty, and you need to rehydrate for other workouts. If I have that sort of thing where I have lifting early in the morning and then I have jiu-jitsu later evening, I want to supplement with Element, which we have a code for, link in the description and all that stuff. That's actually a good way to do it. If you buy Baja Gold, I'm saying I'm sure it's a fine sea salt. I'm sure it costs a fucking arm and a leg, and it's missing most of the shit you need in an electrolyte drink anyway.
Stir it with a wooden spoon, not a metal spoon. The metal spoon will interact with the minerals in there, and it will negate some of them.
It's just fucking like tier 1 nonsense. It's tier 1 nonsense. And by the way, Gary, you know that a wooden spoon, these wood particles, some of them come off of the spoon and go into your water. Are we concerned that you're consuming extra wood particles and all the hundreds of different molecules that make that up? Have we studied every single kind of molecule in wood? We mix the wooden spoon in, we're actually drinking it. And wouldn't the salt corrode the wood a little bit, pulling even more of those molecules off, where it just doesn't do that to metal? Maybe at all, or to nearly the same extent. This is the kind of make-believe nonsense that...
So far, that was the first thing that he backed up scientifically, so I agree with him on that one. So, but the one that the claim he had before was not backed by science. It was more of like an opinion. What was that? So
pisses me off the most. Folks like Gary Brecka say some good shit, but then other shit they do needlessly complicates your life for a maybe marginal or usually zero net effect. Don't fucking worry about what kind of spoon you're using. This is peak tier 1 insanity.
The second.
Actually, the type of spoon does matter. I've actually heard about that and I've read about it a lot. So I don't agree with him on that, because I don't think he studies that or looks into it. So I've actually heard that drinking water out of copper, the copper actually it has like an antibiotic or antioxidant effect on the water, and it actually cleans the water up from having a real copper cup. So a lot of everybody today is copper deficient because the pipes underground used to be made of copper, but now they changed them to like PVC or metal or some shit. I don't know what the fuck they're made of, but that actually gives us less minerals and less stuff. So the water's dead. The water's absorbing platinum or metals or wherever they're coming from. You get me? Wherever you're sourcing the water from, depending on where it's coming from, the water is, the millions of particles are getting leached into the water. So we absorb that eventually, whether it's through the shower, the sink, whatever. It always gets absorbed to the skin. So when you use copper, if you look up right now, you go to buy a set of copper utensils, forks, knives, and spoons. Well, that's just like $150 for like two and two. Expensive ass fucking silverware for a reason. So it does matter what you serve your food in and what you put your food, the instruments and stuff that you use to cook and stuff, because that does affect the way it does. Like if you make a white sauce in an aluminum stock pot or whatever, the sauce will turn gray, because the fucking metal heats up and it leaches out. The molecules start moving, the atoms get big and small, and they fucking leach into the sauce. And that's how you know that that's true. So what you use to cook does affect the food or the materials it benefits sometimes. So I don't agree with him with that either, because when you drink out of copper cups, it's healthier than drinking out of a plastic cup or a glass cup. And there's science behind that too. So let's continue.
Second thing that I would do is I would take a full spectrum amino acid supplement. I would take a supplement with all 8 of the essential amino acids.
Dope, Gary, check this out. There are 9 essential amino acids, my man. But whatever, who cares? 11 essential amino acids for developing babies, because they can't manufacture some internally that we can. And then 9 for adults and children. 8 is just not anywhere in the literature, so that's just wrong. I could be wrong about that, but it's unlikely. So it's 9, first of all. Second of all, amino acid supplements are generally a fucking waste of time. Why? Because when you eat any kind of complete protein, anything from soy and many vegan products, all the way through every single animal protein, every single kind of meat, any kind of supplement like whey or casein or egg protein, milk, cheese, the whole fucking gamut. When you consume protein from those foods, they digest into all of the amino acids that you need. So instead of buying a super expensive amino acid supplement, you can just eat multiple meals per day with lots of protein in them, like you should be doing it anyway. Period.
Yeah.
So consuming some kind of exotic amino acid supplement is a giant waste of money and time.
I take one called Perfect Aminos, but you have one. I mean, as long as it has the full spectrum of essential amino acids. The majority of us are amino acid deficient.
Okay. This is one of the biggest fucking lies I have ever heard in my entire life in the context of sport and exercise science. The majority of us are absolutely not amino acid deficient. There's a term for that. It's called hypoproteinemia. You guys ever see pictures, Google it, of starving children in Africa that have these crazy swollen bellies? That's what happens to you when you don't get enough protein. You are starving. There are almost no starving people in the United States short of people addicted to methamphetamine who just forgot to eat for 2 weeks straight. It does not happen in modern countries. It happens now way less, but still happens in war-torn regions or regions with dilapidated non-market economies that can't feed their people or can't allow their people to feed themselves. That does occur, but it's obvious and it's brutal. It does not happen in modern countries essentially at all. Most Americans get more protein than they need, which isn't a bad thing, but the buffer zone is a real thing. And if you're under eating protein, two things are going to happen. One, you're going to get what's called meat hunger, which is when you want meat. Scott, other than your many, many trips to gay clubs to resolve your meat hunger, you know what I'm talking about? When you just need a fucking burger.
Hey, what's up, guys? I found this beer left over from some campers, and I'm totally wasted. I'm sorry I bumped the camera.
Oh, I know about it.
Oh, I didn't say hot dog.
Oh.
I suppose some penises are burger shaped. Yeah, I digress. When you have low protein levels, low amino acid levels, your body detects this very well and it gives you meat hunger. And then you go and have a cheeseburger, and that for 8 hours in a row will solve any protein problem that you have. So not only is the solution to this not exotic and does not require some kind of weird amino acid supplements that cost a fucking arm and a leg, it's also a problem that does not exist fundamentally in 99.99% of all Americans. So to say that we're all amino acid deficient is tier 1 bullshit. There's no other way to say it. I'm sure there's many other ways to say it. I'm sure ChatGPT could say it in a really polite way. While some people do lack potential protein intake, it's by no means clear that now, see, that's mean. I can't do it, folks. I can't be that nice.
For people that are really into biooptimization for cellular repair, to restoring what's called vasomotor activity in the body, the microvascular circulation in the body, which, by the way, is 70% of our circulation. I have a red light therapy bed. It's a full body red light therapy bed. It's $120,000. I don't expect anyone to buy a $120,000 bed.
A little bit of a flex there, my man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, shit, I got a red light therapy bed, but your boy paid $240 for the shit. They tried to sell me the cheap shit. I was like, nah, family, I need the most expensive one. And then when they tried to sell me the most expensive one of $200,000, I was like, is there a way you can gold plate the shit? Because your boy does not touch anything that's not either gold, platinum, or diamonds. It took them a while. They got me the gold plated bed, baby. I'm straight dripping out here.
But if you're going to buy a Ferrari, buy a red light therapy bed before you actually invest in a Ferrari. That Ferrari will do nothing for your cellular biology.
I went on deep on this one, guys. First of all, red light therapy beds. There are some potential modest improvements that you can find in skin health, recovery, pain management, and inflammation. Okay. There could be a potential for better sleep regulation through circadian rhythm assistance, maybe. But the expectations are very modest. And you're not going to get drastic health and performance gains. You might get some marginal improvements in some of these other qualities. It's best seen as a complementary tool if you're already doing all the right stuff and you have $120,000 to piss away. And it will never come up to the magnitude of effect that you see with reducing stress, improving sleep, eating better, and so on down the line. All the stuff you already knew you were supposed to be doing, but you haven't been doing anyway, pimp, because you're out here trying to spend $120K on a red light bed to short circuit the shit. Unfortunately, it just does not work. In addition to that, the dosing of red light from commercial red light therapy beds is often very inconsistent. You don't even know if you're getting the right amount of dosing, even if you have the product in front of you. And Scott, what am I missing here? Oh yeah, $120,000, which I could have spent on what? The thing is, unfortunately, Ferraris typically, Scott, do not cost $120,000. They cost a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Double plus.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But if you save up, instead of buying 2 red light therapy beds, you get a Ferrari. He says you don't get cellular benefits from a Ferrari. Bullshit. I'm going to tell you why. When you are in a Ferrari, either at idle or at speed, you are experiencing low-level, consistent vibration. Scott, is that true?
That's true.
That shit that wets the girls up when you're at the intersection. Isn't that what that is? And the boys, too. Scott, if you hear a Ferrari on idle, is there more blood that goes to your glans penis than usual?
Yeah, I think it's more for the boys. Ferraris are for the boys, you know?
Yeah, the girls don't know. What gets the girls going?
I don't know.
The RP Hypertrophy app comes with dozens of pre-made programs from 2 days of training per week all the way up to 6 days of training, with specialized programs included for shoulders, arms, chest, back, legs, abs, and glutes, each one with male and female options. You get them all and can use them as often as you like, even building off of them to make your own customized versions for only about $1 a day. Click on the link in the description of this video to get started. There are documented effects of vibration on cellular biology. We have bone building and anti-osteoporotic benefits. So exposure to vibration in some intermittent levels can increase bone building and reduce the bone resorption process, which is pretty dope. You can see in some studies very small effects on muscle regeneration and even satellite cell activation, which helps make you more jacked. Some, especially in conditions of injury, you get tendon and ligament healing that gets faster with exposure to vibration. Scott, can you imagine you're in a Ferrari, someone's like, oh, that's so gaudy. You're like, I hurt my leg. I need the car to heal me.
That's sweet.
Instead of, as soon as you check out of the hospital, they're like, are you going to go home? You're like, hell no, I'm going to the track. Girl, I ain't got time for home. I need to heal. It improves low-level vibration circulation and lymphatic flow, which is dope, clears your toxins for you better. It is moderate vibration has been shown to decrease the inflammatory response. And it even enhances cellular proliferation and differentiation in some organ systems, including stem cells and bone. Get them bones big, pimp. You need that Lambo or that Ferrari ASAP. And vibration can influence neural activity, specifically in low frequencies, can stimulate neurogenesis and support brain health. Although high levels of very high frequency vibration, I mean, you know, running that the red line there, Scott, may induce stress or neural fatigue. You know, also induces stress, taking corners at 90 miles an hour. But for the soul, Scott, is it true to say that every human being has a part of the soul that can be specifically labeled as Italian motorsport?
I don't know about every soul.
Every soul, Scott. And some bigger than others. In Horatio Pagani's case, it's half of the soul. Yeah. Maybe all of it. The Pagani.
Chop, nigga.
So, yeah, it turns out if we're using the Gary Brecka standard of evidence, which is to use a few low-quality studies that don't come to a very large holistic conclusion, the Ferrari actually has distinct health benefits that are comparable to red light therapy beds. So instead of pissing away your money on a red light therapy bed, you know what I'm saying? At least, Scott, do they lease Ferraris? Or that's not how that works.
Oh, yeah. You're going to pay, but you can get it.
You're going to pay, but you can get it, which is what I say to all the girls. Yeah. In any case, this is where we're at, folks. 2025, Ferraris are evidence-based medicine if you have the low, very standard of Gary Brecka's scientific approach. Okay, let's move on.
Wow.
Yeah, is that Flex Lewis?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You fucking, what Flex said. Oh, wow. What he thought. Oh, you fucking liar. You come on my fucking show dissing my Ferrari. It's painted fucking. Scott, quick. What's the Welsh flag colors?
I can only think of Ireland.
Yeah.
Just green and orange and white or whatever.
My Ferrari looks like a fucking dragon. And why fucking wouldn't it? You fucking fuck. Razor blades, eyes. You guys know the rest. You've seen Peaky Blinders.
Oh my God, it actually does have a dragon on it.
Yeah, the Welsh Dragon.
Yeah. It's green and white and red.
Green and fucking white, the color of my fucking Ferrari. Yeah, and on you. What accent is that even? Generalized Britain. You Britons, my favorite people. Folks, we're going to be back to the video in just a second, but we have a members area where you get to see this video and many others, except pretty much uncut, much longer, much more in-depth, and much more ranty, and honestly quite meaner. In any case, other stuff is in there as well. Our members area is awesome. Check it out. Go click on things, and let's get back to the video.
The thing that I believe that we need to do is just get back to the basics. We are so afraid of the sun now. It is pathetic.
Yeah.
You look at the parabolic rise in skin cancers.
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need with full business functionality and a design tailored just for you.
A parabolic rise, like it goes up and then back down. That's what a parabola looks like. But whatever. Let's continue.
You can almost overlay it with the parabolic rise in the use of sunscreens.
Scary. Big problem. The claim that sunscreen causes skin cancer is not just unsubstantiated, though it is. It is completely backwards. The amount of evidence we have that for multiple different types of cancers, that sunscreens robustly help reduce the probability of you getting skin cancer is massive. If you put on an appropriate amount of sunscreen and you spend some decent time in the sun, you know, Huberman style, wake up in the morning, look directly in the sun for 8 hours until you're blind, shit like that. All jokes aside, it is good for you to spend some time in the sun for vitamin D production, for overall wellness, especially in the morning if you can do it. But if you're spending an extended amount of time in the sun, especially when it's at high noon, sunscreen is a really, really good idea. But it does beg the question of why have, correctly, skin cancer rates been increasing? There are multiple reasons, and diddly dick have to do with an increased use of sunscreen. A few reasons. One, huge one, improved diagnostics. Back in the day, you just died of some shit. They don't even know why. Nowadays, you're like, oh shit, that guy's got skin cancer. You go to your doctor often, you do a good screening, they're picking up way more skin cancer. If you detect something more, the rise of it is very well demonstrated in the literature. If you're not detecting something, it's still happening at huge rates, but you don't know about it. So it looks like it happens much less. Another thing is we have an aging population in the literal sense that everyone's always aging, but also the fraction of older people is going up due to demographic stuff. Nothing crazy. But when you have more older people, guess what you have more of? Every single kind of disease. Because guess who gets more of every single kind of disease? Drum roll, it's older people. That's a huge part of why we're seeing more of all kinds of diseases. And a ton of folks like Gary Brecka, unfortunately, will come in and try to tell us it's toxins and all this other shit. Sometimes they're right. A lot of times they're wrong. There's also an increased recreational UV exposure. Back in the day, before World War II, people went to work, they went home. They generally didn't do a lot of outside sporting activities and stuff. People on the farms did all kinds of stuff. That was not recreational, and they got skin cancer all the time. Nowadays, especially more and more as people get wealthier, they tend to engage in what I will politely call, all love and respect, folks, white people activities. Scott, let's go through them. Hiking, whites. Mountain biking, whites. Going to the beach, mostly whites. Really everyone, but mostly whites. What else we got, Scott? Tennis.
Why is he making this shit about fucking race?
Oh my goodness, tennis.
Golf.
Oh, pickleball's the big one now.
Pickleball. If you're in the Austin metropolitan area and you're trying to get laid, go play some pickleball. There's all kinds of young people around doing it. All these other leisure activities that people do outdoors, they're doing them more and more and more, which is awesome. But also, they're exposing themselves more to the sun, and not all of these people are diligent about sunscreen use. Now, look, I'm a giant fucking hypocrite in most ways, but especially with this whole sunscreen thing. I'll have my wife rub it on the top of my head because I'm a balding idiot, on my face and on my nose and all this other stuff and on my upper chest. Am I really good about re-rubbing it? No, because your boy rubs it another way. You feel me? Multiple times a day, every day. That's really where actual health comes from. I'm kidding, maybe. Could I be better about sunscreen? Yeah, hell yeah. Would it be better for me? Yes, absolutely. But is a high involvement in outdoor activities contributing to increasing rates of skin cancer? That have nothing to do with sunscreen. And in fact, if we use more sunscreen, we'd have less skin cancer. Yes, the answer is yes. Another one is ozone depletion. The ozone took a little bit of a hit. We were polluting for a while. Now that's getting better, but it's still not back to where it used to be. And so less ozone means less of a layer of protection. And the sun's just really throwing up, like, instead of 2 middle fingers, now it's throwing up 4. That gets to us, that increases those rates. And so in reality, skin cancer is something that you can, to a huge degree, reduce the probability of getting by properly applying sunscreen. And there is no mechanism by which, nor is there demonstrated evidence of, sunscreen causing skin cancer. This is pure make-believe, and I'm going to put a fine point on it here. Telling people that sunscreen causes skin cancer instead of the fucking sun causing it, with all of its literal radiation it shoots at you, is, I think, mildly irresponsible on Gary's part. Now, we all say some dumb shit every now and again, me included. But I got to say, man, that's not cool, because some people might take Gary's advice. He's a very popular person, and I would say he is a remarkably good-looking. Scott, what do we think about salt and pepper men in their 50s?
Oh, I mean, come on.
Tier 1.
Silver Fox.
Silver Fox. All right. He's like a VP at a corporation. He wears a suit. I see him. I just want my body to be given to him for whatever it is that he wants to do with it. What the hell's wrong with me? Nothing a silver fox can't fix. So Gary's dope. He's really popular, which is great. He says some good stuff. But this kind of shit, man, it doesn't, because, man, you somehow could get lots of people to stop putting on sunscreen and go out into the sun more without it. And then that would probably cause some of those people to get skin cancer more. And that's not cool. That's not cool at all. All right. That lifted my blood pressure a couple of points. Folks, we had a lot more stuff because we pulled a lot of footage. We could easily have doubled this video. If you want another video on more of Gary Brecker's interesting interpretations of science, he does get some stuff right in some of the stuff we have written up, but we just never got to that because we...
Calm down, Roach. Let's see. Excuse me. These doctors are always like competing and shit. Excuse me.
So when a client comes to us with an ask to launch an influencer marketing campaign, the process is pretty streamlined. So what we'll do,
I'll just mention, yellow number 5 was shown in a recent study. Spread on the bellies of these mice made their bellies transparent to light. You can literally see their organs.
But I'm a positivity influencer now. I can't be mean. Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength. I'm a former professor of exercise and sports science, a competitive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappler and bodybuilder, and a person who has maybe the most incredible haircut ever given to a human being. Huh? You guys like that? A little balding, a little kind of like, what am I doing here anyway? In any case, my grotesqueness aside, maybe it's beauty, eye of the beholder type of shit. Today, we were going to talk about Dr. Andrew Huberman. You may not have heard of him because he's just coming up in the world, very small influencer, but he will claim to know things about how the human body works and how nutrition works and things like that. So today we'll find out, what does he really know? And does he really know what he really knows? I had nothing. Anyway, let's take a look at stuff and see if we can learn something. 3, 2, 1, learning time.
Let's come up with the ideal intermittent fasting, aka time-restricted feeding schedule for you. You want to avoid ingesting any food of any kind, even 1 gram of sugar. Remember, this is the ideal. 1 gram of sugar even would be too much for the 2 to 3 hours prior to bedtime.
How do I say this best? The idea that 1 gram of sugar extra with 3 hours before bedtime will meaningfully impact long-term health and body composition and sleep quality borders on mental illness. And I'm not accusing Andrew Huberman of being mentally ill, of course. He's the opposite, insanely competent. But there are some ideas that strain credulity so much, it's difficult to put them in a context that makes sense. And, 1 gram of sugar typically exists in like a pile of green veggies because they do have some carbohydrates in there that are not fiber. Almost every green veggie, and tomatoes and onions and bell peppers, typical real healthy stuff like this nice young lady seems to be eating. Scott, it's nice that it's light outside. She sure better not be eating that 3 hours before bedtime. You must be crazy again. That 1 gram of sugar will fuck you up. It just storms in at night, wakes you up, pours fucking water all over you, gets you doing push-ups. Now, it might be good for you. Now, I wouldn't do that. So it turns out, like, based on this cataloging of variables, so almost every protein powder you can buy has at least a gram of sugar. So no protein powder, no casein before bed. Greek yogurt is categorically forbidden. And every single vegetable is forbidden. So it's true to say that almost every food is about a gram of sugar. Now, if you guys want to take a really deep dive into this, it gets really psychotic. If you eat a real nice serving of meat, it is probably true that you can get about a gram of sugar out of the glycogen, the sugar stored in that animal's muscles, like in the meat. So it's true to say that a good portion of meat may, in some cases, have a gram of sugar in it. And so the idea that a gram of sugar somehow messes with your circadian rhythms is just not true in the quite literal sense of it's just not true. And I'll say more a little bit about the whole verdict on intermittent fasting, because we're starting to understand how intermittent fasting works in conjunction with other variables in diet in a little bit, but let's see what else is said. I just want to tell you that the whole gram of sugar thing is like just full send insane.
It would be a schedule in which you started eating, for instance, at 10 a.m. and you stopped eating at 6 p.m. An absolutely dreadful schedule for anyone that wants to have some semblance of a normal life. In my opinion, it's not really compatible with most schedules, although some people might be able to do it.
Jam, I really love that Huberman said that, because I thought he was going to go and say, like, this is just what everyone needs to be doing, but he really has given love to the fact that it's not compatible with most schedules, which is kind of a big problem, because a lot of the advice at the extremes of the intermittent fasting situation is like, no, nobody can really do this, or very few people can do this. It's needlessly constraining. And the question always comes back to, like, so what's the trade-off? Like, what if I don't constrain myself like this? What are the downsides? We'll get to that in just a second.
And then, of course, we discussed how making sure that you're ingesting enough fluids, in particular water and salt, especially if you're using caffeine in order to increase your levels of alertness, regardless of where that caffeine source comes from, coffee, tea, or otherwise, that can cause the excretion of sodium and can lead to a kind of shakiness, a lightheadedness, and the feelings of hunger that may or may not be related to blood glucose.
Okay. Some good stuff in there. Yes, caffeine helps dehydrate you a little bit. Almost everyone gets their caffeine from fluid consumption. And so it ends up being that caffeine actually hydrates you more on the net balance, because, like, if you drink a cup of coffee, there's some fluid excreted because of the caffeine, but the more fluid introduced with coffee. So the next thing you have to wonder is, like, okay, but pure fluid is getting excreted, and that means that, like, maybe there's like a salt thing, because most caffeine drinks have not any real salt in them. And so we're constantly drinking more to get the caffeine and peeing out more, and then drinking more to make up for that. So maybe we can get a low salt situation. That is possible for people that are in very hot climates, people that chronically undereat salt in their diets. That's almost no one, by the way. Typical Americans just generally get more salt than they need by a long shot. This has been a public health concern for generations. And folks undergoing intense physical activity consistently in hot climates who are sweating a lot can run into sodium issues. Now, for them, I would say, like, eating more salt in your diet overall is totally fine. But if you want to keep it simple, that every time you have one of these workouts that gets you really, really sweaty and makes you lose a lot of fluids, just throwing in an element pack into there, which is like a proprietary blend of various kinds of electrolytes, aka salts, that are super well balanced. It's tasty. You shake it up in your shaker. You can add it to your protein and carbs at the end of a workout, whatever you like. That can take care of that. You can also increase the sodium intake from the rest of your diet, but this element situation is for folks that are very hard training athletes that are sweating a lot. And for everyone else, most people are just consuming enough salt. So we do Elements a sponsor. You can buy their link in the description and all that stuff. But there's kind of a direct way to go about the problem. I will say, for most people who consume caffeine, most people probably who are in Andrew Huberman's demographic are consuming more than enough salt and almost never run into this problem.
Some people genuinely need to eat. I certainly would not want to see people getting hypoglycemic to the point where it's dangerous. Certainly if you are diabetic.
Okay, so hypoglycemia to the point where it's dangerous occurs to very, very few people. But yeah, don't want that to happen. Most people will not get hypoglycemia when they don't eat, because the body's glucagon axis makes blood glucose appear from your liver in your blood. And so it makes sure your brain has enough fuel almost all the time. So typically when you don't eat for a while, you don't actually have hypoglycemia. You just have like lower than average blood sugar, but you're still upright because glucagon's doing the thing. If you're diabetic, there's a whole other host of concerns there that's quite a bit different.
And in fact, for all people, you should consult with your physician when exploring any major changes to diet or additions or subtractions of anything, including supplementation.
That's good advice. So here's the actual, my best understanding of intermittent fasting as it is seen in the literature today. Good news, bad news. Good news, intermittent fasting works just fine. Another piece of good news, if you hold the conditions of total calories the same and food quality the same, that is, you're eating mostly healthy food within a caloric balance in either multiple daily feedings or intermittent fasting, there's some earlier research that said intermittent fasting has these kind of big advantages. The more research we do of studies that compare normal feeding and intermittent fasting, the more it seems that intermittent fasting has fewer marginal benefits than we thought. And it's getting to be real close to parity with just normal eating. So current best practice understanding as far as I see it, and it could be that like I'm not entirely correct, or Andrew Huberman is not entirely correct, or we're both not entirely correct. That's probably the one. But my best reading of the literature is that as long as you're controlling the calorie intake to what your calories are supposed to be and eating mostly healthy foods, as long as you're not eating in a way that gives you stomach discomfort and you're not waking up halfway through the night sweating because you're still digesting your food. So giving yourself like an hour or two if you're eating a decent calorie meal before you go to sleep, or if you have like a protein shake before you go to sleep, or a cup of Greek yogurt, you can probably do that 15 minutes before you go to sleep and pay functionally zero downside. And so on the aggregate, we look at all the literature together, is just a true thing to say that intermittent fasting, the reason it works so well is caloric restriction, and it doesn't let you overeat calories as much. And so all of the specific timing benefits, being regular is good, eating meals at the same time roughly every day is good, but that can apply to fasting and regular eating, no problem. So I would say intermittent fasting, if it works for you as a thing you like to do, as a thing that gives you mental clarity and energy and all that stuff, and as a thing that fits your schedule really well, and it lets you control calories super well and stay on your P's and Q's, it's dope and you should do it. If you want to gain as much muscle and retain as much muscle as possible, you should probably be eating protein roughly 4 times a day, evenly split, 4 or more. No benefit probably to more than 4, but at least 4. For intermittent fasting, it's not ideal, but for almost everything else, intermittent fasting is great and roughly equivalent to just doing the same kind of caloric load and food composition, spreading it over any number of meals. Anything from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 seems to have roughly the same effects as intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting, over the last several years of deep research, has lost almost all of its magic. And now it's, for most people in the evidence-based space, just another way to control your calories and your intake, that if it works well for you, great. If not, then you can eat in any wide variety of eating patterns throughout the day. They have almost the same almost the same effect on roughly every measured variable that there is, except for like a few, like getting ejected.
I wonder if Honeybook has any new leads for me today.
I would argue that our food supply is really dreadfully contaminated with things that are of real concern. I'll just mention yellow number 5 was shown in a recent study. This was covered by Science magazine. That yellow number 5, I forget the technical name, when spread on the bellies of these mice, made their bellies transparent to light. You can literally see their organs.
But I'm a positivity influencer now. I can't be mean. Positives and negatives. The upside is that almost every single study, perhaps every single study, about things that we are eating is technically a concern and should be looked at. And so I'm not trying to say like, because this is a thing. And curious side effects like making things transparent are definitely like things we look at. You don't want to accidentally be transparent. Do you know what I'm saying? You in the bed, like, she's like, all right, let's can see it, daddy. And you're like, yeah, bitch, yeah, you. She's like, you don't have a cock, it's not even there. Like, oh, yeah, yellow 5. So that's the positive. The downside is one study at a time is just not how science is conducted. You have to take all of these studies together, and there are on yellow 5 dozens and dozens of studies going back decades and decades. And These studies were conducted by multiple different parts of private industry, government regulatory bodies, and even in varieties of countries. And they all go through a very, very meticulous approval process to be allowed to be served as food additives to people in the United States and almost every other country. And almost always, food dyes that are approved for use in the United States have been shown by teams of professional toxicologists whose job it is to figure out how unhealthy various things are. Because remember, everything's unhealthy to some degree. You can drink so much water that you die. The sun is a thermonuclear bomb that shoots pure radiation at you. Just as a reminder, they have to set these cutoffs and limits as to what's healthy and not. And they usually do whatever's like healthy unless you eat that much of it. And they usually divide that number by 10, and that's the max allowable RDA, and they go on that. So they're not like getting close to it ever. As a matter of fact, they're not getting to within a factor of 10 of it almost ever. And so when they look at this kind of stuff for things like yellow 5 and red, whatever the hell, all these dyes and additives go through this extensive process, and pretty much all of them that are approved, it's not really controversial if they're very, very safe in the typical dosage people take. And so every now and again, you get one study, this is something different. And sometimes those studies are the beginning of a little breadcrumb trail to show like, oh, we're doing more studies. Oh, this isn't really that good. And then that would be great. So we need more literature and more insight on this kind of continually, a slow drip. And if we see anything really intense, we start to try to get studies to replicate it like other people do studies. Do we really find the same thing? And that's great. But also a lot of the times you do multiple studies and it turns out one study was just kind of aberrant. If you have 100 studies, just the way the process of statistical significance works is like if you think there's really a difference here or not, you will detect a difference when there's no actual harm from a food dye. Something like 5 out of 100 studies will show definitive harm just by pure chance. So we have lots and lots of studies to look at here. So if you just go to the internet and type in study that shows yellow dye, whatever is bad, you're almost certainly going to find a handful of studies. And then you're going to go see, which you didn't find the dozens and dozens of studies that said, like, actually, we understand this phenomenon very well. We understand the toxicity margins very well. And so if you ever want to talk to like ChatGPT about that, it'll tell you till you're blue in the face, and you can Google it. You can look up your own PubMed searches. You can go to toxicology associations. Toxicologists don't get enough love. They do the goddamn Lord's work on this. And so, like, is there a probability that yellow 5 like will make you transparent and that's bad for you? Yes. Is that probability high? No, it's insanely small. And we need multiple studies to replicate this phenomenon and actually say, what does it do to human beings? End rant, but not for long, because I'll be back in a second. Folks, still more video to come, but we have a members area.
Man, that's fucking like, enough. Like, chill out. This is too much, bro. Yeah, acabar. Excuse me. How do I stop you? Peace.